Sarah,
Hey, Chris.
you are painting from the actual still life setup you have in your studio today.
I
And
absolutely am.
I have a photo that you sent me, which may or may not be accurate. It may or may not have been doctored
Did you do something to it?
in some nefarious way. No.
Okay. Well, I tried to color correct it a little bit, but it came out more of a blue, and my background color is a little bit more of a teal, like slightly yellower of a blue.
I do a fair amount of color imagining when I paint, so nothing is as accurate as it could be. I don't know if you do that often.
Not really.
No?
I mean, I'll push my color seeing, so maybe that reflected light that I'm seeing is not quite so saturated. One of my big painting tricks is to create the illusion of reflected light by just pumping up the saturation and not actually increasing the value or decreasing the value or increasing, sorry, making it lighter. Instead of making the value lighter, I just bump up the chroma, and that reads like light. It works very well. But as far as like painting colors that aren't there, if I want to change the colors, I'm just going to change it in the still life. So I can
I
then
see.
continue slavishly copying reality, as is my preference.
Yeah, I just sort of mix a color, throw it on, hope for the best.
Well, yeah, I do some of that too. That's why I'm glad that the audience cannot see my palette today. I do a lot of demos. Now I'm teaching on Zoom. I mean, I have been teaching on Zoom, but now I'm doing Zoom workshops. I've got a camera that goes down onto my palette, and it makes me feel like someone's watching me try on bathing suits. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what that's like, probably.
I've only tried to shoot videos like that a few times, and they did not really turn out. And I had to ask myself the hard question, do I actually give a shit? And the answer was an overwhelming no.
So, do you give a shit about having palette cam video, or just in general?
Well, not just in general. I mean, it wasn't that existential. It wasn't a crisis by any means. It was just like I had to wrestle with some things in the beginning of where I wanted to take this, and I kind of just made the hard decision that just showing what people were using on their palette and just kind of flashing the palette in the video beforehand is good enough. There are so many videos of people working on their palettes, and I would rather have this be more about bullshit and just watching people paint and bullshit. And I don't think it has to be serious all the time.
So it's personality driven for you. That's your vision here.
It kind of has to be, because
well, I'm honored to be invited.
Sarah, you probably do this often enough that you have a certain proficiency level at speaking intelligibly while you're painting. I don't have that.
I'm a little out of practice because of my workshop schedule being totally, derailed by COVID-19. But I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just going to say that I am probably a little rusty when it comes to like my stand-up repertoire being combined with my painting ability.
It is kind of like stand-up.
It totally is, except your back is to the audience.
Yes, and every time you are eating shit, you never really know.
That's right. Well, I do kind of hear this silence that descends over the room, and I'll start wondering, how many of them are asleep? I've been told that my voice has a somewhat soporific effect, particularly on models after lunch.
Oh. Okay.
Just watch the model's eyelids kind of flutter. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to get a stick. Model abuse. But yes, no, I miss the in-person teaching. I miss it quite a bit. I guess the next time I do it, when I'm demoing, I'll probably be wearing a plastic face shield, so it will be projecting my voice backward toward the audience, don't you think? It might be helpful.
Yeah. I remember doing the workshop instruction thing in the mid-2000s, and people getting a little too close to me while I was working, because it was mostly figure and portrait sculpture. And when people would kind of come ask me questions, they would really...
Like while you were painting,
well,
they would come up on you.
Yeah. They really aggressively are in my space while I'm working with the clay and while I'm packing things on. And I mean, they're almost standing in my shoes sometimes. And back then I thought, man, there must be some kind of way to get people to keep their distance without actually telling them to.
So you're the one who started this whole coronavirus thing.
I don't really ascribe to many conspiracy theories, but if someone were to go back over the metrics of it and see if it all played out, and they blame me in the end, I'd have to be like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of wished for it a little. I mean, I didn't wish for people to actually be ill, but the fact that people had to stand.
You just wished for social distancing. How can we make this happen, universe?
Yeah.
Well, I like it when my students get right up in my grill when I'm demoing for workshops, because then I can make them have paper towels. Yeah. I just throw it on the floor and I just hold out my hand and someone puts a paper towel, and I feel like a princess, you know? I want them all to come home with me all the time. Plus, it's nice to paint with a cheerleading section. It's always, like you said, like you know, if you're killing it or not, right? There's nothing like doing something in a painting and hearing the audience go, oh. It makes me feel like, you know, I'm like a professional athlete or something, having crowd noises pumped in.
That's cool.
Yeah, I want a cheering track for my studio at home.
Yeah, the painting out in public that I was used to was not anywhere near that glamorous.
Yeah, because you were doing like street performing painting in Louisiana or in New Orleans, right?
Yes, and it was more people just kind of saying under their breath, "This guy is awful," or "This is bullshit." Like, I need another drink. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that could be really demoralizing after a while. No wonder you quit.
I didn't quit, Sarah. I graduated.
You were
fired? No. You have to get the hell out of there at some point, or else it will swallow you. I didn't own property in the city, which I almost wanted to. When our second daughter was born, we considered it, and I decided against it, and which was, I think, a good thing. We wanted to move a number of different places over the years, but the more time we actually spend in those specific locales, the less enticing it becomes, and the more we just want to keep traveling and seeing more. Hasn't gotten old.
Good, I'm glad.
When are you going to hit the road?
In an RV? Oh my God. I went camping, sort of, a couple of weeks ago, and I went. It was my new boyfriend's family reunion.
Oh.
Yeah. I could hardly say no, but I'm not a camping kind of girl. I don't even paint plein air. I'm like terminally indoorsy. But I agreed to go on this camping trip, and it was sort of like indoor camping. There was a At least I got to sleep in a tent trailer, but okay, it was 100 degrees.
Oh,
Yep, and it was not like a beautiful spot. It was more of an RV style campground, which is, nobody's fault. It was just kind of a
yeah.
weird place. And I would say on the scale of 1 to 10, my comfort level, I was nearly in like freak out mode. I felt that my survival was threatened by this situation.
Really?
Well, the
Like,
heat and the being outside and oh my God, like not in my
so,
element.
so were you near like cougars?
No, it was just the sanity piece.
Oh.
But I did survive. And I had a good time, like the social aspect of it was a success, in my opinion. So yay. But did it make me really like want to go even in anywhere near an RV again in the foreseeable future? Oh no, it had a very damaging effect on my future camping prospects. Not that what you're doing is camping, you're living in a very civilized way. You've got an air conditioner and I don't at home, so.
You definitely need all the creature comforts you can when you're traveling with kids, and we now have a new puppy, so we kind of don't spare the expenses on the creature comforts.
Good.
If we can. Some places we go to that we boondock or dry camp, it's when we're using our solar power and we kind of truck all of our water in and just kind of use our tanks and our solar electricity. That sort of thing. Sometimes you get out pretty far to where there is actually, you're surrounded by wild animals. That's neat if you like it. I always like to be somewhat close to civilization. Of course, my wife Becky doesn't really care about that. She just wants to go to all the beautiful locales, and I'm left being slightly concerned about safety issues because I'm always convinced that some big fucking wild animal is just gonna, like when I take the garbage out one night, is just gonna pounce. I'm not even gonna see it coming.
No, I hear you. Like I'm walking to the bathroom in the middle of the night in this RV campground that might as well be a Walmart parking lot, and I'm going, why am I outside in the dark at 2 a.m? This is not right. Your survival instincts do get triggered a little bit, and I had nothing to worry about. So, gosh, yeah, I mean, that's hardcore what you're up against.
However, the view is nice, so.
So you're in Wyoming now, and how long are you going to stick around?
Oh, we're in the general area here, I think, for 2 weeks, and then we're doing 2 weeks in Denver to visit some friends, and then I think we're going to try to skip the rest of the country in between here and Tennessee, and we're going to be in Tennessee for a little while, and then as the autumn approaches, we're going to be back in the South again.
I like Tennessee. I was supposed to go to Nashville in September, but now I'm not going to, and we're going to do a Zoom demo instead, and I will go to Nashville next fall. Nice place.
It is nice. That is the area that I think that we're going to be in, actually, just outside of Nashville.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never tried the hot chicken. You know that Nashville hot chicken thing?
Not really.
No. People. I've been meeting people who have traveled there, and they keep asking me, because people like when other adult dads get together, they either talk about some kind of shop talk about the rig, or they talk about crazy weather, or they talk about food in different locations.
Right, because there's no football.
Well, some of them do watch sports, but I immediately remove myself from those conversations in an awkward manner.
Those are the conversations that end with, Oh, you're a painter? Like
Yeah.
houses?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I get that conversation. I'm like, do I look like a house painter?
Yeah. Well,
Guess I
a
don't
lot of
not.
times, a lot of times people are trying to relate somehow to you in a small talk sort of way, and
Sure.
when they find out how advanced we are, um, psychically, emotionally, intellectually, that's the only thing they can
Go
do.
on. If we let our egos off the chain any further, you're not going to be able to put this out on YouTube because it'll just be too shameful. Get my therapist to watch this.
Yep. Wow, this guy that you painted with is really self-aggrandizing. Oh, yeah. Indeed. So
You started with the blue background and you're making the plate blue. Now, you did warn me that you were going to change colors on me, but the plate is white and everything in my painting is orange because I started with an orange underpainting and now I actually started putting the orange on first, which is, kind of confusing to paint orange on orange, but well, this isn't my first rodeo, but also I want to get that orange on there first because it needs to kind of set the benchmark for the light or the most saturated, the most vivid, vibrant color that's going on in this whole painting, and everything else is going to have to take a back seat or else these oranges are not going to glow when I'm finished. Know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's noble of you.
To have a plan is noble.
Yes. I took one look at that plate and I thought to myself, maybe I can get that plate to be a little bit more interesting than oranges. It's probably not going to happen, but those are the kind of thoughts I have in my head. Sometimes they lead me so far astray, it's ridiculous. The other day, I painted a landscape with another artist I know from New Orleans. We
The woman.
did no. His name is Steve Mercer. I know him from the markets, and he chose a photo that he went and took of a cypress tree, and it was pretty straightforward, but it had a lot of green. And I thought to myself, you know what, Chris? I don't think you need green in this painting. I think you can pull it off. It was the biggest shit show train wreck I've ever done.
You mean you didn't put green on your palette or you didn't put any green on the canvas at all? You just decided to rebel against the concept of green? Both.
Both.
And excellent. I like it.
Oof.
Well, I'm all about the weird limited palettes. Trying to paint something blue with only black on my palette. So I hear you. But it was a shit show. It came out bad or it was just hard?
Anything you can imagine. It was a little bit worse.
So are you going to air the episode?
Oh, I put it on there immediately.
Train wreck. Excellent.
Yes. Because if I set the precedent that it's that these videos are not to be expected to be like these polished kind of instructional sort of things, that they're just two people who just happen to be having a conversation while they paint, then when it really goes off the rails, then I can just point and say, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this?
All right. Well, I'll curb my tendency to educate while painting.
Hey, if you want to, that's cool.
No, but I know you're not paying me.
No.
Tell them how we met.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
We actually have met face to face. We're not just.
Yes. No, you're one of the only people over the decade I've been traveling and working that I met outside of the city of New Orleans.
Weird.
We met at I shook it. Just fuck. Okay, I got it back. We met at a Starbucks I was painting at in Eugene.
Yep, where I live, Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
I was very intrigued. I wanted to see what you were up to in this Starbucks.
Yes, and you had on a look on your face like I was an alien half the time, and it was fantastic.
Really? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so that Starbucks, that's not the Starbucks I would choose for my satellite studio. It's a little bit sketchy sometimes with the people that come in and out, you might remember.
That was a sketchy Starbucks, but I was still okay with it.
Yeah,
And
it's not like dangerous.
No, I've been to a lot sketchier ones.
There's no cougars at that Starbucks.
No. Well, yeah. I mean, pumas maybe.
I was there. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, we met, like we saw each other's work online, probably on Daily Paintworks or else Instagram. But I think it was Daily Paintworks first.
I
so
think
we
it
were
was
following
Daily
each other
Paintworks.
online. Yeah.
And
that's how it happens, folks. Reach out to your art heroes, and especially if you're mobile and you're traveling around in an RV and you're going to where they are, everybody likes coffee. You could just get together and meet. And I got to watch Chris paint, and he showed me his trunk full of paintings.
Yes, like a crazy person.
Yes. They got to dry somewhere, though. No, that's actually good. Like if I lived in an RV, I think I would dry my paintings in the trunk of my car, too.
Yeah.
If my studio gets any more crowded, I might have to start doing that anyway.
You really pack a lot of shit in there?
I got a lot of shit in here.
Yeah.
I got video camera shit now. Yep. I got a lot of still life stuff because I'm a still life painter. So I have a closet full of stuff. It looks like a thrift store. Great. Yeah, it's awesome. And then I got a table to set still life stuff up on, and I got a shelf with canvases and things on it. And then I have, video lights. And I don't have a lot of paintings hanging around right now, actually, because I just shipped a whole bunch of stuff to gallery shows. Even with all this, galleries are going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just virtual. They're having openings. So most of my work is out and about right now, which is a good feeling.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Now I can make new work. I've got the mental space and the physical space, and it's time. It's a good feeling,
Mm-hmm.
Is it not going?
Okay, so I'm not using any medium whatsoever with my oil paint. Mm-hmm. It is water-soluble oil paint.
Yuck.
All I do... excuse me, did you just say yuck?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we're going to skip over that.
You're going to edit it out?
And we'll just pretend like that didn't happen.
I'm not participating in a commercial for water-soluble oil paint.
So, I don't use any medium whatsoever. I also don't use water. It's just paint out of the tube.
Great. On
my palette, and it goes onto my panel, and that's it. And it starts to really get weird anytime I accidentally have washed a brush, cleaned it off, and not really wrung out all the water from the bristles.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you stopped using water because you weren't getting it all out when you were cleaning the brush. Well,
yes.
I have seen oil painters who operate that way too, because with the Gamsol. So, yeah. Some people will use a little bit of added oil, but some painters I've seen not using Gamsol at all during the process. I just wipe my brush off a lot. I gotta wipe it, it goes in the Gamsol, and I wipe it again, then it goes in my palette. But Gamsol's my friend. I like it. But so you're having issues because you're having issues right now?
Well, some of my paint that I put on was a little thick, and then I just went over it with the brush that had some of the watery paint on it. Wasn't realizing because I'm watching what you're doing and I'm talking, and yeah. I don't think I'll make that much of a mess.
Okay. Well, I am using mediums. I'm using everything but the kitchen sink. I've got Gamsol here. I've got Gamblin solvent-free gel on my palette. I'm not using a ton of it yet because my paint's really soft today. This is all new paint, which is nice. Solvent-free gel, and I've got walnut oil too, which, I haven't started using it yet, but I will probably. What am I doing?
Nice. Well, if you know how to use it. I just can't stand people who ask me all about it.
What do you mean? Like on Instagram?
Yeah.
So your solution to the perpetual question of what paint are you using, what medium are you using, what canvas are you using, what palette knife are you using is just to say nothing.
Yes.
I'm using nothing. It's like people who drink their coffee black because it's too much of a pain in the butt to open the fridge and get the milk.
That's me as well. So,
is it? Yeah, I know people like that.
Yep. We are really digging deep and getting to the bottom of my psychology.
Yes.
Man, I just put on I don't know what I was doing there. That was a bad color. See, when you, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same for you, but when I am applying paint for a landscape, I can get away with putting so many colors of the wrong hue, wrong saturation, wrong value in, and just making everything around it work.
Oh.
And I don't really, like, I formed some ways to not have to deal with putting down the wrong piece of paint and then having to remove it. And I feel as though, because I'm so kind of against normally painting still lives, that I'm being dragged into this, and I'm just about to start to scrape some things down even.
Good. I think that's a great technique. Scraping. I do that when things get frustrating. It's one of the beauties of oil paint over acrylics, that you can scrape it and then you get a texture you weren't anticipating. And, you know, I like what you said about, like, you do something that's weird and then you just make it work with what you fill in around it. And sure, you can do some of that in still life too. But maybe it's less forgiving. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sort of convinced that what most
maybe you
landscape
figured out
painters,
how to. I sure shit haven't figured out how to do any of that.
everything in a painting is relative. It's true. And I'm all about, like, don't be so concerned about matching the colors. Don't worry about the colors. If you match the value relationships, the colors will take care of themselves. And they do every time. So the colors, I am not striving for the perfect color. I'm striving for the properties of the color. So here, if I'm looking at my oranges and I'm trying to decide how one side is different than another, I'm asking myself, well, value, hue, temperature, saturation. What's the relative relationship? Is it more saturated? Is it less saturated? Then whatever's next to it. I'm just comparing, going around the still life, moving my eyes around the still life really fast. If I'm trying to diagnose something, or look away for a minute and then look back, squinting. Yeah. So yeah.
So many quotable lines there, Sarah.
I've got a YouTube channel too, If your viewers can't get enough of me here, they can go watch me all night long on mine.
Yes, they can. And I will provide the information of that in the description.
Cool. And I mean, there's a link to it. Oh, I lost my earphone. There's a link to it in my Instagram account too. People can get everything about me basically in my Instagram deal. And probably about you too, huh? Hey, I got a question.
I try to be really private,
No, you do not.
What was your question?
My question is, do you know what TikTok is?
Do I know?
Well, I don't really. I know it's a thing that exists in the world.
A TikTok.
You did?
Almost on a dare. Another friend asked me, "Hey, are you on TikTok?" And I said, "No." And she wrote, "Oh, maybe you should be." So then, in my infinite wisdom, I went and saw a bunch of millennials and Gen Y people dancing and kind of making funny faces and shit. And I thought, what would be a perfect addition to this is some 10-second or less videos of me painting. I think that people are really going to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work out like I planned, and I ended up within a week just kind of abandoning the whole thing. But I was on it for like a week.
Okay, cool.
And then I started to see some of the other people who are on TikTok and noted that it is sort of a sanctuary for absolute madness. And I'm not sure if I have the patience for all that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know of it, and do you ever watch it?
I've never opened it and looked at it. I've never looked at it.
Really?
Really, I know. It's like, I feel that I should, but I don't quite know how. And that's kind of a good feeling, because I still sometimes, less so lately, but sometimes I will encounter people of a certain age who are feeling that way about Instagram. They're very intimidated. They don't want another thing to learn on their phone. And I'm going, oh my God, like it's the most wonderful thing in the world. You're just cheating yourself out of this fantastical experience if you aren't on Instagram 24/7 like I am. But I get it. I can relate, and I like to be able to relate. It's why I persist in teaching beginning oil painting. Because it puts me back in that mental spot where, I remember what it was like when I painted for the first time. So, yeah, long story short, no, I don't even have the app on my phone. It's an app, right?
It is.
All right, well, at least I can comprehend that.
Yeah. What they do, too, is when you first start to post a video, they have all these bots that I think will automatically just like your stuff and make the same weird comments. So you feel as though, oh, look, all these people want to know what I have to say on TikTok.
How can you tell that they're bots?
Because they go away.
Oh.
Because it's just the first few posts that you blow up and you're like, wow, I'm a TikTok star. And suddenly, nothing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Nefarious is right. All right, I'm going to get off these oranges. I've had enough.
Well, I'm just starting my oranges now. I'm trying to leave some of the pink, and I keep squinting, and I feel as though it is starting to come together. This painting here, well, let me also say this. I'm used to doing these like very small 6x6s, blowing through them. This is a 10x10 for me.
Mine's a 10x10 too. That's awesome.
Okay. Excuse me. So I felt as though that the image that you chose kind of deserved maybe a larger board. And because I do trust your eye, and I've been wanting to paint a Sarah Sedgwick. Sedgwick.
There's no G in my name. Thank you.
Yeah,
so you've been wanting to paint a still life like me. And 10x10 is one of my favorite sizes.
Yes.
Yes.
And I finally get the chance to. Yeah, well, if you want, you can call me Chris Long. Put an extra M in there.
Yep. There's a million Chris Longs on Skype as I was looking for you. I was like, oh, damn it. How am I ever going to find this guy?
Oh, yeah. There are a ton of Chris Longs on Instagram, too. And that, coupled with the fact that another famous Chris Long has a blue check mark next to his name because he's like a famous football guy.
Did you get a blue check mark?
No. The likelihood that I will get a blue check mark is very low if someone else has the same name, even though my handle is different.
Weird. I got a scam thing about the blue check mark the other day.
Really? What were they trying to get you to do?
They were trying to get me to give them my email login information, but it showed up looking like it was a DM from Instagram official, and it said, oh, you've been accepted to have the verification or whatever the blue check mark means. And I thought, wait, I didn't apply for this. Or did I? And
yes.
And then I went and looked, and Well, luckily I Googled it, and Googling it says like Instagram will never ask you for any kind of logins to any kind of emails, so don't even deal with it. Thank goodness.
I did actually apply, not because I thought that I would get it. Rather, I just wanted to see if they would send me any kind of response
And did
as
they?
to why I wouldn't get it. No.
They didn't send you a response even.
No. So they took one look at what I do and who I am, and if they could have taken it, crumpled up, and thrown it into a metal wastebasket in their office, they would have.
Oh, no.
They did the digital equivalent.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how to apply. I probably have to like go on TikTok and make a video. And why do you even want that, because it looks cool?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I want TikTok attention.
Yeah. But for Instagram, like.
Oh. What do you mean? Oh, in order to apply for the blue check mark?
Yeah, I was just kidding. I don't know how you apply for it.
No.
Which is why I think I didn't. What made me think I didn't apply? What?
Well, it's not that difficult to actually do. I think they require that you send a photo of your license or something.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's through the official site. Like, it's in your settings, and that's the requirement. So I think I did it just to see. And,
They shook canned it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Fair enough. Well, in honor of you, I'm gonna push my colors. I'm gonna try to push my colors a little bit in this white plate. I mixed up this very blah palette of my usual like things I paint white with, which looks like like a swatch set from a cement factory. Not very exciting. So I'm gonna try to spice things up a little bit, because you really do get some most amazing expressive color in your landscapes.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, the drama is wonderful, and
I think you're being way too kind, because I would rather have your control over the color than my loose cannon sensibilities. Like, I'm being called into the office constantly. Long, you're a loose cannon. Sorry, Sarge.
Yeah. I had a teacher in art school who was kind of like that, kind of sounded like that, and was bald and looked like a drill sergeant. But he used to like to play techno during drawing class, and then he would dance around the room in his like plaid shirt with his bald head. It was very strange.
Oh.
Art school was great.
What art school was that?
Maryland Institute College of Art. They go by MICA for short, because all the East Coast art schools do that. That is the cool kid thing to do in the East Coast art school scene. It's in Baltimore.
I know of it, yes.
Do you?
I went to LAFA, the Lime Academy College of Fine Art.
I do not know it.
Yeah. I don't think it exists anymore. I think it was a small school, and they got swallowed up by another university, and then that university spit them out or something. They're in like their 50th incarnation. But
Connecticut?
Yes. It was a very interesting place to attend school back in the 90s.
Yes, I was also in school in the 90s, the late 90s.
Yes. Oh, I remember driving to school and hearing this brand new song out of England that everyone was going crazy about. And it was called Wannabe.
I don't know it. I do
From
not
the
know
Spice Girls?
No, I really never.
You don't know the Wannabe song from Spice Girls?
I'm sure I've heard it. But nothing's coming to mind, and I was definitely not a Spice Girls fan.
You've definitely heard it.
I'm sure I have. I wasn't like not a Spice Girls fan. I didn't really have feelings about the Spice Girls at all. And I wasn't called to because it was art school. It was more like, we're going to listen to Radiohead, OK Computer, for 4 months straight without stopping.
Oh, yeah. I remember
And
that
then
phase
maybe
as
we'll put
well.
on some Pavement. Yes,
Yeah.
like that. And Bowie. Oh, yes. And I'm a little bit ambivalent about Bowie, too, which I know is sacrilege in the world in general and among artists in particular, but I just have never been able to really integrate it. You know what I'm saying? We like what we like.
I do understand.
Do you like to paint with music?
I do often, and recently I've been on a Depeche Mode kick.
Oh,
I'm really into the 1993 album, Songs of Faith and Devotion.
cool.
And what else was I listening to? Oh, a band named Bastille. I really like that. I like to
Okay.
paint the Bastille as well.
I've been
How
liking
about
these
you?
things. Well, I'm going to look up Bastille. What kind of music is it?
It is it's kind of rock,
Okay.
and it is. I wouldn't necessarily call it like British anthem rock. It's not quite like U2 or Muse or something like that, but it does have a lot of interesting, catchy writing to it. Yeah, so
Scraping.
I'm sorry.
Good noise.
Yes,
Scraping.
I am scraping. What do you? What have you listened to lately?
I listen to music a lot when I paint. Um, let's see. I like music with a fairly consistent beat and fairly few words. I've been listening a
Okay,
lot to a band called, well, it's not a band, but a guy called Emancipator lately.
Emancipator.
It's
All right.
maybe it's house, maybe it's techno, but it's not dance music. It's like sort of atmospheric, sort of. It's not slow though, and that's about the best I'm going to be able to do to explain it. Check it out.
Okay.
Emanci- hmm
Emancipator.
And some other stuff.
Wow. I'm really. I had no idea that my painting was really that intense until I just squinted, looked
Mm.
at it, and then kind of looked over at what your piece was doing, and then looked at mine in the upper right-hand corner of
Mm-hmm.
this Skype, and wow, yeah, I really need to figure out what I can tone down here because it's almost just like noise.
Okay, well, mine's going to start looking a lot more colorful when I get some more of this orange covered up. This orange is actually very neutral, very, very brown. It's close to a burnt sienna type of color, but when you
Hmm.
wash it on thinly like this, it does brighten up because of the white of the canvas showing through, and the more colors, naturalistic colors you put on it, the brighter it starts to feel. So I really need to get some more paint on this canvas so that I can start making more judgments about the correctness of everything.
I decided because I have a wood panel.
Mm.
Um, I decided to not put white underneath that pink paint I put on top of it. So I basically sealed the entire cradle wood panel, and then I just used a pretty thick layer of the most brilliant acrylic pink I could.
Cool.
And sometimes that shit backfires on me too, though.
I painted on a slightly pink underpainting. I put more alizarin crimson in the mix than usual, and I used alizarin to block in yesterday, and I don't know, it was kind of a wild ride. You always in the finished product can see it. When you use alizarin or any kind of pink in your underpainting, you always see it in the finished product, and that's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
It just really like heats it up, you know?
Uh, I okay. Have you ever attempted to paint like a really brilliant piece on a gray panel, just like a like a flat, neutral, kind of extremely nothing color panel?
Yes. One time I took a workshop, a
Okay.
portrait workshop from a guy who is really, really good painter I admire, and I loved the workshop. His technique, however, is to start on a gray canvas and then paint with a million colors, which I don't really paint with a million colors. I paint with very few colors relative to what most people do.
Me too.
Yeah. And there was just a lot going on, but it was different. It was a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't continue to paint on gray, but I understand the argument, especially with flesh tones. I mean, you can pretty much take a gray canvas and some burnt sienna and some white and paint on top of that, and the gray is filling in all the cools for you. The burnt sienna and the white will take care of the rest and look very fleshy on top of that, and that's really all you need. A pretty darn good value study anyway for flesh tones. I am partial, and this was a portrait class, and we were using, oh my God, 15, 18 paint tubes, and I'm kind of a Zorn palette girl. Especially this week because my new Zorn palette workshop is coming out on Wednesday. It's video-based Zorn palette, but that's 3 colors in white, and it's about the simplest training wheels you can have for mixing flesh tones.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
I try to stick to 6 colors if I can manage.
And what are they?
And
always the same, or just 6 and they can be whatever?
No, it's between 5 and 6. I prefer to use a CMYK palette, and I will usually throw in an extra like CAD yellow deep or a sienna to warm things up a little bit, but that's pretty much what I'm using today is like a CMYK plus the CAD yellow deep, I think it is. What are you using?
What are the tube colors? I know we saw the palette in the beginning of the video, but I didn't see your palette.
Oh. You mean the
like
colors?
What are the names? What's on the tube?
The names. All right. So I am using cobalt instead of cyan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use the CAD yellow medium, I can get the cyan if I need it. And then I use magenta or a quinacridone, depending on what I have. I use Payne's gray for my black, titanium white, and that's it.
Cool. Well, I'm using a pretty big palette, split primary plus bonus colors.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 reds, 2 yellows, 2 blues, and then I have black and yellow ochre as a bonus. Because, you can paint without them, but why paint without them if you can have them? So I've got CAD yellow and Hansa yellow. Those are my 2 yellows. And CAD red light and alizarin crimson. And then I'm using viridian and ultramarine blue. So viridian is being my yellow blue.
Okay.
Whether you want to call that cool or warm, I don't know. But I might use cerulean in that spot, but lately I've been struggling with the severe opacity of cerulean, and viridian is my friend.
Yeah.
Love viridian.
I have, I'm not going to say I've sworn off cerulean, but I just don't find a lot of uses for it. So I finished the tube and I have not purchased another one.
Yeah. It can be fun in limited palettes. So if it's the only blue on the block, it can be kind of fun. But if you've got something else, you're probably going to choose something else. At least I usually do. So I hear you. There's ultramarine can do everything that cerulean can do.
Indeed.
Maybe not, but for me, yes, I feel that way.
Well, to my vision, it certainly does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we agree.
Yes. And I'm still convinced that I don't see everything I'm supposed to see. And I just wing it. Absolutely. And all these fantastic comments I get and these lovely people, I keep on trying to be self-deprecating and let everyone know that I'm not really sure what you're seeing. It just sort of works for me. It doesn't always even work for me. So, but it's not like you can constantly tell people, oh, you're really being too kind.
I'm really a charlatan. Move along. No, they love your paintings, and at a certain point, like you can't discount that. If someone loves your painting and they're impressed by it, then you shouldn't come back to them and be like, well, look, I don't know. Like, I think maybe you are just stupid.
Yeah, I don't, because
I'm sure you don't.
Then there wouldn't be much of a business aspect to it.
Yeah. But it's like, it's true, this social media thing, it does kind of force you to learn how to accept a compliment gracefully, because it's like we want the comments and likes, and we do it, and then it gets this place where people are so impressed sometimes, but they're just learning to paint. So you and I have been at this for a few years.
How long have you really been at this for? I don't think I've asked you that before.
Well, so the first time I ever oil painted, I was 10 years old.
Okay.
But I wasn't at this then. I was just a child. And
really?
Yeah, that's not. Yes. So I oil painted a little bit throughout high school.
You were a child. Okay.
I was advanced, but yes, legally I was still a child. And I oil painted throughout high school a little bit, but always kind of like from my head, not observational. And then in college I did. But after college, I kind of had what I call my quarter life crisis, and I quit painting for a long time. And I really was very depressed about it. And I thought it was probably maybe over for me with painting. And then when I started doing daily painting, that's when everything really changed. And I started painting all the time and haven't really stopped since. And that was in 2008, so 12 years, 13 years. Yeah, 13 years ago. And I pretty much started selling immediately, real cheap, on eBay at first, and then I got my Etsy shop. So I've been selling paintings online since 2008, and that was all really like blogging then. Blogging was very big, and I still have my blog. My mom really likes reading it, She's the only one. So, yeah, keep it alive.
Why not,
Yeah, it's a chronological record of what I've been up to, and I like having it. And I also like being able to say that I've been doing something for 13 years. I mean, there's really nothing else that I've been doing for 13 years except having this blog. Not for that, not for that length of time. So yeah, so I like it.
Okay.
So does that answer it? I've been doing this in this incarnation at least for about 13.
Okay. I started in 2011 painting crawfish and beer bottles.
You showed me some of your early work. It was very cool.
Now I know that you're lying.
What?
Yes, that was a very dubious compliment.
Well, we just got done discussing how you don't accept compliments with grace, so I shouldn't be surprised.
Well,
never mind. I retract the compliment. Go on.
Okay, good. Oof. Thank God. Yes. So I had tried to do some painting when I was a teenager, and I really didn't enjoy it. And then all I did was paint miniatures, like Dungeons and Dragons miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually will sometimes think of the process for painting a three-dimensional miniature and apply some of those things to oil painting.
Cool.
And I had to stop because my parents wanted me to get a real job at 16, even though I was making more painting weird little miniatures for people.
So what was the job that you got?
I started to bag groceries at the local grocery store, which was a very important step in my career. And yeah, if my mother's listening, she knows how I feel about that job and how enthusiastic she was that I got it, and how she was mortified by the fact that I didn't want it. What kind of crap jobs did you have?
Oh, I was a lifeguard when I was a teenager. That was definitely a crap job. I think I was being paid like $2.75 an hour. But really, I was just lying in the sun with my friends, so that was all good. And then in college, I was a waitress, and that's a crap job for me because I'm a terrible waitress. So I did that for a few years. And then after that, while I was having my quarter life crisis, I got a job that I worked in a college bookstore for a while, and then I got a job that I totally coveted and really enjoyed, which was being a plant lady. There is a job where you go into office buildings and other kind of corporate settings, malls, whatever, and water the plants.
Oh.
Yeah, you see those beautiful plants in the mall.
Yeah.
Somebody is watering those things, and that was me. I loved it. I didn't do it for very long because we ended up moving to Oregon, and then some other things happened, but I did do that for a couple of years. Yeah, it was fun.
That sounds like a great gig.
It is. I mean, it's not high paying, but it's low stress.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think we artists, many of us, we care about quality of life. Nobody becomes an artist or opens a gallery for that matter, hopefully, to get rich quick. It's just not, it's not about the money for us. We got to do this thing, and if someone's willing to pay us, and even better yet, to teach it, which I think is just the icing on the cake. My God, like I get to paint, but then I also get to teach it. Like I get to go and be with these students who are so enthusiastic. They renew my remembering why I love this every time I teach. I miss teaching. God, I miss teaching so much. But enough of me and my poor me COVID story.
That sounds fantastic. For me, teaching is the icing on the turd. No, thank you.
Okay. Well, you don't have
to. Absolutely not. Because there are so many excellent people like you who have the patience and who have the passion for it.
Well, teaching is purely selfish, Chris. This is a secret. I do tell people this.
Yes, go find Sarah if you want to learn.
Well, I'll say two things about that. Teaching is a purely selfish pursuit, absolutely, because you don't know what you know until you teach it to someone else. And once you do, you only have to be one step ahead of them, by the way. So if you think you can't teach somebody, just go out and find somebody that's a little behind you on the path and tell them one thing about oil painting, and you will have that thing in your wheelhouse forever. It's magic. And so I have learned more through teaching than I ever could have just painting by myself in a room. It's really been, I can't say enough. So there's that. And then I will also say that what you said about teaching, you know what I feel that way about?
What's that?
Pet portraits.
Oh!
You totally summed up my feelings about pet portraits. You do pet portraits?
No!
Would you if asked? I got to turn on again.
Oh, I have. I I think I probably have painted under a dozen pet portraits. And I don't. Okay, I'll say this: if you're listening, and if I painted your pet, I didn't want to.
I will second that. If you're listening and I painted your pet, I can't imagine who you might be. But if it happened in the distant past, I also didn't want to.
If you like it, that is fantastic.
Fantastic.
But there is no joy in it for me, and
God.
I really can't get into the mindset of people who love painting pet portraits. I've tried to understand the motivation, and every single time, I don't know about that.
No.
No.
You think it's mercenary? You think it's all about the money?
I don't usually feel so pessimistic about any fine art pursuit, but yeah, I think it's something that you just sort of put your time in for. And rarely do you find people who actually enjoy it. And the folks I have spoken to who really enjoy it, they're even crazier than I am. So if
I
I'm
was waiting for
saying
that punchline. That's a good one.
If I'm saying that, then I mean, they have to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, but see, the thing about with me is like I'm not into it. I'm not particularly an animal lover. I'm not an animal hater, but and I just think like if people come to me with they want a pet portrait, I want them to be with somebody that can really do it well, because there are people out there who can do it so well, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that person should be with them. And likewise, when they want to get their grandmother's china teapot collection painted, they should not go to the animal portrait painter. They should come to me, because I love those commissions. I love still life commissions. I've had some really, really good ones where people will just bring me a box of stuff and say, here, keep this for a while and paint something. And I'll say, well, you want to see sketches? And most of the time they'll say, no, just do whatever you want. That is a good commission.
Hell yeah.
Yes. And that happens to me. Not that often. Not often enough, but sometimes it does.
I think I'm losing.
Losing what?
A little bit of the interest that was the underpainting and the relationships that bright pink had to the orange. I think I might have put too much plate in.
Too much plate. Okay, I'm going to finish the paint that's on my brush, and then I'm going to go look at yours on the screen.
Okay.
My head's getting in front. Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, yeah. I really like your shadows.
Thank you. Like, they're starting to make sense now that I put the rest of the plate color in, but against all that orange, It was like, what is she doing? I know. You have to cover up some of the orange before you can start making like decisions like, oh, this sucks, is I hate it. Like, you can't say that until you get a little bit more color on there. And now, like, I get to put the light part of the plate on and then the highlights, and I think it's going to resolve. So we'll see. Who knows? All right. Yeah, so you still have lots of pops of pink there on the plate. Shadows are a little bit dark, maybe. I don't know. Maybe scrape a little bit away from the shadows, and then you'll reveal some of the pink.
I think I have to.
Oranges look great. You might be, I can't really tell, but you might be too like white in the center pieces. Those little white spots that are along the ridge.
Yes.
Of the point. So maybe those are too white and they need to be more yellow, purple. I don't know.
One is green up here,
Okay.
and the others are a very light yellow. So I'm not sure how it's because I have both natural and I had an incandescent light to actually throw more light on it because of
Hmm.
the rain from before, and I haven't adjusted it.
Well, okay, never mind then. But your plate looks awesome. Good
No,
ellipse.
no, no,
Good
but
job on the lip thing, the rim lip thing. I hope I can resolve mine.
now that I'm looking at your oranges, though, I see how your yellow in the what do they call that kind of white area in between this the plinth the
The
plinth
pith? I
pith
don't know.
pith
I call it the
yes
white part of the rind, but it's
the
called
white part of
pith.
the rind. I believe it's called pith.
Oh, okay.
Mine I think is a little bit more either green or tending towards orange, and you have spots of kind of really brilliant yellow, which is really working for you.
Yeah, it looks like brilliant yellow right now, but it's really not. There's a lot of white in there, but yeah, there's a lot of yellow too.
Damn these cameras!
I know. We're doing our best. We're learning this medium. We're all learning this.
Uh,
This new normal.
yeah.
And also, so your pink showing through, like do you when you paint landscape, do you often do that, like have an underpainting color and really use the show through, the gaps between pieces of opaque paint to create those color pops? Because you have such good color in your landscapes. Such vibrance.
I often use yellow or orange,
Mm.
and
Because you do a lot of sunsets and sunrises, right?
yes, I I really can't deal too often with the greens of the midday, so
Hmm.
I tend to gravitate more towards um, the dusk light. I I almost think that I see it a little bit better.
Gotcha.
That's just my continued madness,
So, but your pink that's
the
showing through in
attempt
your
at
painting,
self-reflection. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
at
ahead.
the pink that's showing through your painting at this point is kind of all over the place. It's almost like there's a pink blizzard going on.
Oh, you just wait until I start to scrape down more pink.
Yeah. Just be a little, maybe you want to be like more strategic about where it shows through. I don't do a terrible lot of that, of leaving the underpainting showing through. I do it,
Yeah,
but really very little.
I don't really tend to notice when you leave your underpainting showing through.
No, if you
Um,
saw the work in person, you'd be able to see it, but on the
okay,
internet, it's not
yeah.
much, so it's not going to read on Instagram on your phone.
I think I tend to leave more of that and push it a bit
Hmm.
because I know that it's going to be perceived in the digital media, you know.
Smart.
So I usually don't even think that most of this is necessary to do, but I will leave like a lot of underpainting sometimes purposefully just to not have to put more paint on it.
Hmm. Good reason.
And I really haven't gotten that thick with this piece yet. I've um, tried to be a little bit more controlled. I like to think of when I paint with guests on this thing as it being an opportunity to speak to you, not only, but to actually watch what you're doing and then sort of figure out if I can get some of the energy that you're using into my own piece, because I think when people work together in real life, in person, that actually happens.
Yes, for sure. Someone's
So,
energy in the room with you and being able to like look at their painting throughout at the breaks and stuff. Yeah, there's no substitute for that. It's great.
so you strike me as someone who really kind of has their shit together and feels as though they know themselves when it comes to painting and what you expect to get out of a piece. So I've been trying to not go too heavy with my palette knife or go too fast. Sometimes when I'm painting with other people who are daily painters, I know that because of how I perceive their work and their pacing, that they are okay with leaving certain parts and with really allowing looseness. And then I think that's when I kind of go a little crazy too.
Cool. Well, I like to allow for looseness. I'm always trying to get myself to stop working on an area before I'm sure it's done. It's one of my big secrets for staying loose, and it's not rocket science. You just kind of move on before you're sure you're finished with an area, and then the work that you do somewhere else usually causes it to become done without you having to do anything else to it at all. It's kind of like an excellent feel for me. Yeah, so like I pretty much abandoned the oranges. I could work on them for 2 more hours. They're certainly not perfect, but they're probably good enough. And if I leave them alone and work on everything else, by the time I come back to them, I'll probably think, oh yeah, they're fine. They're good enough. We will not let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough. We will now be finished.
That's a good line too.
I did not make that up. I think Elizabeth Gilbert made that up. Big Magic. One of my favorite books on creativity, and it's about writing, but artists don't tend to write a lot of books about the craft of creativity. I mean, there are some good ones by artists, but writers are the ones who are always writing the damn books. So I read a lot of books on creativity by writers, and Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert is one of my Bibles.
Oh.
Done is better than good. That's what she says. And that's the same as don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough.
Interesting.
I mean, good is good, right? But if you can't be good, at least be done.
Yeah. I don't think I've read a self-help book.
Not a self-help book.
In over a decade. Hey, yeah, well, you can call it whatever you want.
Okay.
I've not read a book about anything that actually matters in so long that I'm listening to you talk about it and I'm thinking to myself, that sounds a little heavy.
Oh, well,
because
you can get an audiobook. It's a good studio listen.
Well, when I read, I prefer to read, and I must say I have a guilty pleasure of reading like UFO and Fortean mystery conspiracy stuff with Bigfoot and these people and their far out research, and that actually gets my attention more than anything real. And so
you also do not have a big problem with motivation, blockages, procrastination. What's the word I'm searching for here? Like not artist block, but maybe artist block. Do you?
I think that if I took the time to actually think about it, I would have a problem.
Yeah.
I do my best to do a non-think, and I see my meditative state in painting as being more of a blankness than a conscious effort towards anything, if that makes sense.
It does. It absolutely does. And I'm telling you, like, I also ascribe to that philosophy because there's all these heavy questions. I do a lot of mentoring. I'm kind of like a life coach for artists. And I don't know why. I have no qualifications to be anybody's life coach, but I am. And people will say to me, oh, it's not good enough for this. It's not good enough for that. I can't have a show right now. I'm not ready. I can't teach a class. I'm not ready. And I'm not pushing, but this is what people are telling me they want, but they're not ready. And then there's the one of like, oh, I looked at Instagram and I got so discouraged. Everybody's work is so beautiful and I'm never going to be like that. And why does the world need another artist? Which is the one that usually happens to me. But honestly, like, I just don't think about that stuff that much. I guess like you're like you said, if I did, then it might start to bug me. But I just am like, okay, we got to go paint today. Like, I mean, I've been massively blocked over the last 3-4 months. I have had a crisis of laziness myself and just sort of been a little down and depressed about all the things that are going on and all the uncertainty. It's scary. But in the end, like, I love what you said about how, like, you're not going to have a problem unless you let yourself think real hard about it. Love that.
Well,
Elizabeth Gilbert, she thinks real hard about it. She's a very cerebral woman.
I also want to be, because I have a 14-year-old daughter who wants to pursue the arts, and she really likes drawing and painting on her iPad and doing the Procreate thing.
Yep.
And I want to be a good example. Mm-hmm. So, to me, some of the most exemplary actions that one can take is to just keep chugging along.
Yes. Love that.
Because I'm pretty sure that she will come up against some of the issues with attempting to be an artist your whole life. And that I want to impart a sense that if you just keep on going sometimes, that's enough.
I love that. Yeah, because if you quit, you're certainly never going to get anywhere. And even during the years when I had quit painting because I was, afraid and young and an idiot and all that stuff, I still had this idea in my mind that if I could get myself started again, that everything would be okay. That as long as I was just showing up and doing, like you said, then that's it. That's the whole battle. It's like you build it and they will come, like, worry about how you're going to market yourself and all that later. And I certainly did. I didn't have a plan. Really, my plan was just like, I'm going to paint and then I'm going to see what happens. And I don't know why I had to wait all those years in fear before I could just get back to that. But yeah, it's that faith that if you stay on the road, if you stay on that path and you don't quit, shoot, at best we'll get to paint tomorrow. But being an example for the next generation, that is a beautiful thing. I love that.
So I think it's time that you answered a real question in this dual PaintCast. I want to know if you've seen any UFOs, ghosts, big feet, or whatever they're called in your neck of the woods, chupacabras.
They do have Bigfoot in Oregon. It's a big thing. Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No?
No, I haven't. Do you ask all your guests this? Is this mandatory? Because I was not informed.
No. I just I just assumed that if someone was to pay attention to these things, it might be you.
You think? Why? What is it about me that makes you think I've seen a ghost? That's certain je ne sais quoi.
Well, it's just a hunch.
Frankly, Sarah, you seem like a crackpot. Well, let's see. There was a story in Baltimore. There was a ghost story about the bar that I lived, or my boyfriend at the time lived over the top of. And did I believe this ghost story? I suppose I did, but I never saw this ghost. It was kind of
Okay.
scary. I mean, it wasn't like, so it was sort of a benign ghost, but I mean, I believe Baltimore is one of those cities where there's like the ghost tour and everything's haunted and it's all old and it's cool. And there's Edgar Allan Poe's grave is there. And yeah, and I think that's cool. Now, I believe in a lot of shit, like including God, right? Which is about as close to believing in a ghost as a lot of us get these days. But that there's something out there operating that's greater than us that affects the outcome of our lives if we just open our eyes to it and kind of let it in. Yeah, I believe that.
Okay, so that's a definite yes on UFOs. Okay. Nice.
Nice. No, I don't know.
Okay.
Aliens and how can they not be flying around? You know, we're flying around.
Yes, I must say, I was just kind of hoping that you had a recent story, and I think I might start asking more people if they have recent messed up stories, because I just realized the other day, I think I've gone quite, I don't want to say 5 years, but at least 3 or 4 without really seeing anything or really having any kind of absolutely bizarre experience. And I don't know. I was just kind of hoping that other painters could just fill in the gaps for me.
Well, you're the one that's out there under the big night sky in Wyoming, and you should be looking.
I do look.
I'm sure. It's a full moon tonight, by the way.
I know. It was pretty full last night. Last night I was at a Cabela's.
Yeah.
In Montana, staying
Cool.
overnight. And there were some guys who were racing their bikes in the parking lot because it's Sunday after hours, just sort of zooming around. And one of them took a look at me, and I was taking the puppy out for a little stroll. And he gave me a look that was so awesome that I'm not sure what he saw or what about me struck him as so ridiculous, but he got this look on his face like he had seen the funniest meme. And I'm not sure what it was. Like, I went and I checked if I had a shirt on. And right away I thought, is my fly open? Like, am I wearing something weird? Do I have something on my face? But nothing.
Nope. Just amusing.
Yeah. That kind of made me want to see weird stuff even more, just from somebody else thinking that I was funny looking, you know? Oh, wow. Yeah, I like I like the top of your plate that you're working on there.
Thank you.
That's really reading well with the light.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the stage where I would tell my workshop students, you know, this is actually a lot closer to being finished than you might think it is. Like, there's really not a lot of paint on this canvas, but most of the hard part is now done. And I just pretty much have to pretty it up and fill in the negative space. And I mean, the negative space is not an afterthought, certainly, but it's not going to be, you know, as meticulous. I don't have to be very meticulous about the negative space. Ooh, I like that. That was good. Yeah. So how are you doing? How close to done are you, do you think?
I'm going to say that I've spent longer on this piece than I have on probably any other still life I've painted, and I think it somewhat worked. I've been able to include some things I've wanted to, and I keep trying to move back and forth from side to side. It's tough, and I really think it's great how you can keep doing this and not pull your hair out.
Oh, well,
Because I mean, I'll be the first one to say, like, I think landscape is one of the most saturated subgenres of painting because
yes.
it's by far the easiest.
Do you think?
Yes.
Oof, God, not for me.
And I personally would rate probably, I'd say between landscape, figurative work, and still life, I think that still life is some of the most difficult to get right. So
Portrait.
I put that on the top.
Portrait's the hardest.
You think?
Yeah. Without drawing skills, you cannot paint a portrait. I mean, you can, but if you really are invested in it looking like the person, then you need drawing skills and the organic shapes with still life. Now, plates, ellipses, that kind of stuff, that's another deal. That is challenging and does require just, a checking, attention to detail. You can't just say, yeah, whatever. But like with a landscape, you're right, it is easy because you can make it up and it'll still, if you capture the light in the atmosphere, that's the whole deal. And then everything over that is gravy. But portrait can be tough because the drawing stuff. So that's my opinion. But anyways, go on.
Oh, I just wanted to add that as a sculptor in my previous life,
Sculpture is hard.
I always felt that because you can also do still life or very structural pieces in fine art and kind of incorporate them in traditional figurative sculpture. And I always thought that was one of the most difficult aspects of not only painting, but of also sculpture, was including things like pieces of fruit or trying to get the symmetry of some other objects if you're pairing it with a figure in space or within a composition. And I kind of felt like doing the relief pieces, which is the equivalent of landscape, and just straight figurative work was a lot more direct. So, yes, I've been working on a number of still lifes with other daily painters lately on these videos I'm doing, and I want to do even more. And then I'd like to do maybe some portrait work and see how that turns out, working on things for like an hour and a half, and how people approach that as well.
Well, great. I would love to come back and do portrait with you. I'm pretty bad at portrait from photos, but I'd be willing to go out of my wheelhouse, I suppose. It's hard, and painting any room photo is pretty hard for me.
You would choose the photo, and I mean, you could instantly just kind of have an amazingly kind of amusing time if you chose a child smiling. Because
no, I will not do that.
I would not be able to pull that off.
No, neither would I. Painting someone smiling.
Oof.
No.
Especially with teeth.
Yeah,
it's
the teeth.
It's so creepy.
Either you make it look like a white mouth guard or you make it look like a picket fence.
Yes.
You
I
cannot
like
win
that.
when teeth come to play. So, no, we won't do that. But yeah, your audience, if you want to see Chris and I battle on a portrait, and it will be Zorn palette, mind you, it will be Zorn palette. Have you ever painted with the Zorn palette before?
Yes, I did years ago at the night market. I painted some portraits of other artists and vendors out of the market, and I did them with a Zorn palette, and then I would take a color that was definitely not in the Zorn palette and sort of outline the entire painting with it. And so I was able to keep everything kind of controlled and within a color world as far as getting everyone's specific tone and kind of getting the right balance of color and value. And then I would just sort of push it with a really aggressive, obnoxious background color. And that was fun. As far as landscape goes, I've tried it a few times.
Ooh, Zorn palette for landscape.
Yes. And
I wouldn't.
It's
limiting.
It's hard to do some of the pieces that I do without a really, really kind of intense red or like like a magenta or quinacridone. I don't really see the cad that well when I mix it, and that's part of the Zorn palette, right? It's cad red, like a cad
yellow ochre, cad red, yellow ochre, ivory black.
Ivory black and white.
Yeah. And some people use Payne's gray instead of the ivory black, and some people use vermilion instead of the cad red. I've done it with alizarin crimson. I mean, you can sub out. It's not set in stone, but when I teach cad red, yellow ochre, ivory black. I love ivory black. The Zorn palette taught me how to paint with black. I am forever grateful because I paint with black all the time. I do not want to paint without black. I don't care what I'm painting. I'm serious. Like I adore black. I'm not so far from being the person who says we don't paint with black. Like I was told in art school. Yeah. I am like, we need black. Without it, what would I do?
I really like the addition of black. I did not use it for a while because
Sorry about the heavy breathing. This is sort of what I do. I'm always like when I'm painting.
I'm surprised that I haven't had some kind of allergy snuff thing going on today, which I unfortunately did in 2 other videos that it just annoyed the shit out of me when I listened to a little bit of them.
So what were you about to say about ivory black?
Oh, I really enjoy it too. I read somewhere early on that you didn't need ivory black if you just had something like a Prussian blue or a Van Dyke brown in your palette. That black was completely unnecessary, and it just sort of killed any color that was next to it, the vibrance of it. So because I read it in a magazine, I sort of believed it. I was like, oh, okay, well, and then cut to almost a decade later, and I always have black on my palette if I can now.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, so I'm obsessed with covering the entire surface of the painting with some sort of color all at once, all within like the first 10 minutes. And I see that you've left areas of your underpainting that you haven't really addressed.
No, I'm getting there.
Do you normally do that?
Yeah. So I don't finish. It's not like I'm finishing these areas and then I'm moving on to another area. I'm actively trying to stop working on an area before I'm sure that I'm done. And so I move around. But no, I don't have to do very much on these areas. So they really only get one pass. And I tend to start working on them and then I get distracted and I go work somewhere else. Like what just happened. I'm like, oh, the plate needs something. Oh God, well, I guess I'll just finish the background later. It's fine. This is just my process. Gotta leave things alone, give them a chance to be done.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking the colors in the plate. Some of my brushwork is kind of meh, but it's good.
So we're a little over an hour and a half in.
Oh wow.
And yes, I have not really paid attention to the time here.
Okay, well, I'm going to just finish this up right quick.
So are you going to work on this anymore? Or are you like Dunskies with it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to work on it a lot more. It's got a few more things that I might touch up in the oranges. There's like just anything that I think is too sloppy. But I will get my eyes off of it. I will walk away from it for a few and get my eyes off of it, see what it looks like when I come back. Whatever jumps out at me, I will take care of. Now all I have to do is finish that cast shadow. And yeah, how about you? Are you finished with yours?
I think I might go back in and add a little bit more weight of paint in a few areas.
Yeah, you love that impasto. You really do that well.
I do. And I think that I've scraped enough in this, and I really don't see myself adding a lot more paint. So it's just like certain areas of thickness, but not really a variation, I don't think I'm going to adjust too much, so to speak.
Gotcha. Well,
it's been really fun.
It has been really fun. I would totally do this again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. So sorry I fucked up your name, Sarah Sedgwick.
That's okay. I'll forgive you.
Okay. Good. All right. And do you want to just tell people how to find you in case they don't want to look in the description?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is sarahsedgwick.com. Sarah Sedgwick, all one word. And I'm real easy to find on Instagram. My handle is @SedgwickStudio. Chris will put that in the description for sure. And Instagram is really the place, I mentioned my blog earlier, but Instagram is really the place where I'm putting what I'm up to on a daily basis on there, plus lots of behind the scenes stuff from my workshops, which will be starting up again here soon. And I'm looking forward to it. So that's where I can be found.
Fantastic.
And Chris is somewhere in Wyoming under the night sky with the cougars.